Hope is the cornerstone upon which compassion is built. Fostering empathy and unity among diverse souls. For in its embrace, differences diminish and common dreams unite us all. It knows no bounds, transcending borders, cultures, and languages, binding humanity together in a symphony of shared aspirations. As we wander through the labyrinth of life, hope casts a gentle light, illuminating the dimly lit corners of uncertainty. It is a gift, a precious jewel of the soul, which, when cherished and nurtured, has the power to set our hearts ablaze with a fervent belief in the magic of tomorrow. A good evening, dear friends, advocates for a better world. Welcome to Hope, an all-an event organized by We Rise Together Foundation, where we aim to reflect the loud impact of change makers all around the world. I am Sati Jain, and alongside my co-moderator, Vanchika Tiwari, we are honored to guide you through this empowering journey today.
As many of you know, We Rise Together is an organization dedicated to creating positive change in both the environment and people's life. Through our three impactful initiatives, Sunday for Secured Future, She Hygiene, and Helping Hands, we strive to uplift communities and build a more compassionate society.
Today, we would like to bring to the limelight our Helping Hands initiative, where we distribute reusable items such as books, clothes, and footwear to those in need. We believe that empowerment begins with the access to education and resources. To date, we have donated over 1,500 books to deprived children, enabling them to learn new skills and enhance their knowledge.
Let's take a moment to reflect on the current condition of poverty and its impact on individuals and society as a whole. Poverty is not just an economic issue, it is a web of intellect, social, cultural, and economic liabilities that perpetuate a cycle of deprivation.
The lack of access to education, proper healthcare, and economic opportunities further exacerbates poverty. It creates barriers that prevent individuals from reaching their full potential and contributing meaningfully to society.
At We Rise Together, we believe that poverty can be transformed into empowerment by providing essential resources and support. We aim to break the chains of poverty and foster sustainable growth and development.
Now let's proceed with the third session of Hope, focusing on poverty to empowerment. We have three esteemed speakers who have been working tirelessly to address the root causes of poverty and uplift the marginalized communities. They will share their inspiring stories of change. After each talk, we will open the Q&A chat for 1 minute and take a few questions for the speaker. Then after all the talks, we will hear our guest speakers talking about how poverty is not just a poor people's problem. Later, we will proceed towards the panel discussion, followed by the final question answer round for 5 minutes.
Our first speaker is someone whose words infuse actions. She believes that power for social change lies in the hands of the common people. And with the motto in mind, she has been working with Bal Raksha Bharat, that is, Save the Children in India, as head of campaigns for over a decade now, and made an astounding impact to uplift the lives of young children. Her name is Pragya Vats, synonymous with impact. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Vanchika. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're perfectly audible, ma'am.
Hi. So just, even though there are 15 minutes, but I will just give you a glimpse of the work that we do at Bal Raksha Bharat and what it really means for the rights of children in our country. So Save the Children, Bal Raksha Bharat, globally we are known as Save the Children. And in India, we're working across 14 states, focusing on the rights of protection, survival, development and participation of young people, as well as responding to humanitarian crisis. And through our work, I mean, of course, 100 years legacy of the organization across the world, and in India, working really closely as Bal Raksha Bharat, an Indian entity, we have been working with millions of children, contributing to and strengthening systems that make access to rights a reality for children in our country. And last year, and I think I would especially be focusing on the rights status of children in our country through the report that we annually bring out. And the first in the series came about this January in 23, which looks at different contexts, and we must also take cognizance of the fact that COVID derailed decades of progress made on various development indices, whether it's children's education, whether it's protection. And we were grappling, all of us were grappling with newer challenges, which were thrown by pandemic. And the report largely cites that emerging amongst all of these challenges was something that we never noticed would be impacting, we never spoke about, which was the mental health of children in our country, and which was exhibiting in forms where even NGOs, civil society, governments, we were all looking at how to tackle the challenge because it wasn't very visible. But before we go to that, because the topic is poverty to empowerment, uh, it's not all doom and gloom. We have also seen remarkable progress through various combined joint efforts of organizations, government, young people, where we have seen, like, for instance, your hand washing. 9 out of 10 children are hand washing. The practice of hand washing has really improved. 2 in 3 girls, I mean, this is all based on the Rights and Agency of Children report. They are accessing menstrual hygiene because there is an awareness. But we are also seeing that 3 out of 4 children are still uh, defecating in the open. So, which means that there's lots, this is on the survival and health. Immunization still remains all-time low amongst young people because there is a lack of awareness or access to services which may not be adequate. Similarly, on protection and education, we have seen that while enrollment has grown with drive after pandemic to get children back to school, because we also knew that education suffered a massive hit during pandemic with millions of children being pushed out of school. And like we know that children in the urban setting still had access to internet, and online schooling became a reality for most of you. But we also knew that this threw another challenge for young children and school-going kids who did not have access to learning online, which means that there was a learning loss as well. School days were lost, especially when we look at girls in the context of education. And this was a report which was brought out by Right to Education Group Forum, and they said that 10 million girls stood at the risk of never going back to school, instead being pushed into early marriage, being pushed into domestic labor, which is an invisible labor force, and worse still, they were being pushed to trafficking. So we knew that, even though all children were experiencing learning loss and some kind of a challenge across different spectrum, but within that, gender emerged as one of the very critical fulcrum around which the discrimination exhibited itself in most disproportionate fashion. Because there were no chances that we knew that these 10 million girls would go back to school. We didn't know that. So we were all grappling with newer challenges. Online also posed a new challenge of threat and abuse that again grew online. And all of you young people, and there was a study that we did which found that 9 out of 10 children who were accessing online education or online medium with that dependence also had complained of abuse of some form of the other, harassment, fraud, because children were mostly dependent on online spaces. Um, so this is essentially talking about what is the lay of the land when we are talking about the situation of young people on different spectrum of protection. While enrollment has increased, we also know that getting back to education has been a challenge for many families because during pandemic, young people or children were forced to support their families financially as well, being engaged in child labor. So we also knew that the decades of progress made has been pushed back, which means that it requires double the effort for all of us to come together and ensure that we are able to work towards sustainable development goals. We need to work on, we need to do something differently to get our progress back on track. And in terms of work, our work with children, we have also seen that it's been such a learning that when we listen to children, even for this track report, we heard around 5,000 children, we spoke to them to know what was something that was affecting them the most. And we heard that mental health, because of all of these learning loss, or the challenge that pandemic threw us, where we all know that still in big houses where we had access to everything, even children were being pushed into being alone. Imagine a house where family of 7 or 8 lives in one room shanty, what the situation would be. Dependence on mobiles, we also saw that in order to cope with that stress where young people could not go out to play, it posed isolation as an issue for them, where they could not even speak what was affecting them. So these were some of the challenges that we have to tackle. Online medium and access to online and dependence on online is something that we have to look at. And coupled with that, the climate crisis is a third challenge, which further endangers uh, this generation, the generation of children born in 2020, more than anyone else. And just to cite one data, we brought out a report called Born into Climate Crisis. And that report also said that children born in 2020 are 7 times more likely to face harsher weather conditions. So this is the generation now. And I think in order to work, and we've all collectively realized that young people have an equal stake in the future that belongs to them. Working with them, listening to them, and sometimes even them leading us into the future is the only way working together forward. So now I feel even the division or the, say for instance, the, what do you call, the organizations, young people, that there has to be a compact rather than a divided force. We need to work together, and an adult youth compact need to be there, where organizations are working with young people, propelling the solutions offered by young people. Because one of the things that we realize, which is again common, and I say one thing is not just terms, is a spectrum of things in terms of realization, but what combines young people, whether they are in the urban setting or in the rural, who we work with, marginalized or privileged, what binds them together is that resilience, is their willingness to do something to solve a problem. You all are not willing to sit on the fence, but willing to take charge and do something about it. And that's something that all of us adults who are on the panel today, and I would really thank Arav, you, and the what We Rise Foundation does is empowering young people to be a part of the change, to be a part of the future, where we can also sort of see that, okay, we feel hopeful. So it's really important that we work together, and you young people should tell us where we can be an enabler to be able to provide or maybe support young people's leadership, especially on the climate agenda, on issues that you feel matters most, whether it's poverty alleviation, whether it's menstrual hygiene and gender equality, or it's a climate crisis. Unless we work together, and I think that's something that I would want to leave behind. There's a lot to learn from young people, because youth leadership is something that is here to stay. And all of us together need to enhance and empower that to be able to create a collective consciousness of change. So thank you. I'll stop there, Vanshika and Arav. Over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Pragya, for that inspiring talk. Your contribution towards the upliftment of deprived children are truly amazing. Now it is time for a 1-minute Q&A session. You can raise your hands or message your question in the chat box.
Anybody who wants to ask a question to Ms. Pragya can raise their hand, and we can call them up, and I'll unmute them if they want to speak the question. I guess not. That it seems that the audience is already very inspired. So I have a question for you, Ms. Pragya ma'am, and I was thinking about asking that what could be a sustainable model for uplifting poverty, like that could, because I guess education and health are the two most important issues when it comes to poverty. People are not poor because they lack money, but because they lack these two resources, education and health. So what, according to you, would be a sustainable model for India or around the globe that could have an amalgam of supporting the poor via education and poverty? What would be that model according to you?
Sorry, I mean, I think there could be various ways of answering this, Arav. Am I audible? Yeah. So while, like one of the challenges, one at the governance level, I would speak, right? And then at what we could do at a collective level, and then at an individual level, right? So there are various solutions which needs to be, in a way, which is, uh, fragmented and yet contributing to the same. So in terms of India is unique because we have fantastic policies in place. ICDS, if you look at it, which is what we also popularly known as Anganwadi, right, in our country. They are once, if you look at the structure, that's one-stop solution for early learning, nutrition, and health, which can be accessed by communities both in the rural and the urban. So, I think the challenge is not whether there are policies or no policies. I think India is unique in terms of whether you have an education which is empowered by an act, which is Right to Education Act. India has a new education policy which is also rising up to talk about what are the 5 C's, which is compassion, collaboration, curiosity, uh, creativity. These are the kind of things that government is promoting because we realize that education के अलावा भी चीजें जरूरी हैं, right? We also know that our education system needs to be a little more adept to look at what are the kind of skills that children and young people need, right? When we talk to young people, and I would elaborate on this because the first at the governance level, where when you talk to young people in the rural areas, for instance, right, where there may be options, someone may want to be an actor, someone may want to be a singer or a sports person. So the aspirations are probably common, which amongst young people, right? But at the same time, they don't know how can the skills and learning be combined to be able to link them to their future that they desire and deserve. So I think the skills that we need are the 21st century skills for people across, young people across, children across, which enables them towards the future that they deserve, irrespective of where you're born, what strata of society that you belong to. Again, another thing that I mean, this stemmed from a conversation I was having just a couple of days ago with a friend. That what does it take? Like, we often, most of us have gone to private schools, right? We have the privilege where we can afford. Why? Because we feel the quality of education is better in these schools than the government schools. Till we are able to, and this is a mindset problem, right? Till we continue to, because education cannot be disaggregated like that, for privileged versus for the marginalized. Imagine a Delhi government school or a Kendriya Vidyalaya should become something that each one of us should feel proud of and say that, okay, I can send my kids there, or I could study there, and we can say that proudly, and that disaggregation doesn't remain between private and public schooling system. Because 80% of India's education system is still supported by government schools. So we are talking about a large population which is dependent on these, where so schooling is also a lot of out of pocket spending for a lot of us, right? Because we want to give the best for our young people, which largely rests with the privilege. So if the school system largely at the government's level, right? If we say that the government looks at quality of education as the key defining uh, principle for all schools. So, which means that even those living in Odisha or the far-flung areas of Bengal or Bihar are able to access quality education, and the same opportunities are also made available to them. So, these are the 3 things that I feel: the skills and education, and how do we provide skills right at the school level so that wherever you want to be, you are able to attach yourself at that course or curriculum or the skills which prepares you for future, right? Because until you reach graduation, some of us, even till the masters, we have to do that graduation and specialization, but which may or may not be necessarily linked with what we do with our, higher education is only where we get to decide, right? But this opportunity should be made available to children right from the school. Second, I'm saying quality of education should be the main yardstick, irrespective of private or public. And there should be a benchmarking that is done by the government, where whether it's a public school or private school, so that one doesn't feel the differentiation between the two or the disaggregation of the two. Otherwise, till that remains, there would always be your Bharat and India divide forever. right? Similarly, on health and other indices that you talked about, systems are very many. It's important for one, the government to provide. So supply and demand has to work together, right? We also see that while the ICDS system is one of the largest integrated child development system in our country, but access by community is really poor. And we need to get to the root cause. Why? Because they don't know. Health and education also remains the lowest priority, when you are fighting for your survival. And this I saw, again, I would cite an instance which is also a revelation. We used to run this mobile health clinic in the slums of Delhi. I'm talking about a decade ago, right? And there would be on that particular day, there was PDS system also open, like a public distribution system. वो भी था, लोग अपने राशन को भी लेने जा रहे थे. And we saw that those who would access, it was divided. No one came to the health clinic on that day because they had to they had to collect their food and the ration for the month. So when it comes to choices, it's divided, whether you'll feed yourself or whether you'll educate yourself. So again, we'll have to devise a system as a society where we are looking at holistic development of a child. अगर हम बोलेंगे child labor में क्यों है or that child should be in school, we have to also create enablers for the family to be able to ensure that the child has everything they need to be able to have a childhood that they deserve. So I think this is, 1 second, I'll just open the door.
I guess till the time she is back again, I would really agree with her points on poverty and the differentiation between.
Sorry about that, Arav.
No problem. I was just talking to the audience about your points, and now I agree with you. You could continue.
And Pragya, yeah, no, I just, hi Pragya, good
Hi.
evening.
Hi.
Nice to meet you after, yeah, we met that time. So I've been seeing you, following you since 2-3 years. So there is a question, like while you're talking about all the policies, all the challenges we have in terms of, child development and child education and everything, right? So all at sometimes like at the local level,
Your voice is breaking. Sorry.
Your voice is breaking. Your voice is
is,
breaking.
is it fine? Is it fine?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I just want to ask that the area where I live in, right? There I see the NGOs, few of the NGOs working. There I see few schools. There are teachers who are working in the evening school. But still, I do not see any government support. The policies that talking about, government has definitely some policies in place. But then people see around, there is nothing for them to see, like what is happening, what could we do to support the underprivileged children, what could we do to support the poor people. We do not see it, like, right? So something has to be done, like at local level in near our communities, where the things are visible, that these are people where we have to whom we reach to support these children, or to support like everybody. When we talk about everybody supporting each other, everybody should work together. So there has to be some visible things. So they're only on the TVs, we see only people talking about. So how could we do that? This is something very this disturbs me a lot when I see that nothing is happening around, near my vicinity, near where I live.
Ji. So thank you so much. I think that, like this is a question that should bother each one of us. And I may not have a ready answer, Anupam, to say that, oh, this is a kind of a bullet formula that we could inject and it would solve. And I think as Arav and Shika, they were talking about that, the last segment where one talks about that, how poverty is not just the issue of the poor. Until we keep thinking about the fact that there is an other that we are working towards. So there are two things that probably I often tell myself. One is that what can I do? I may be attached to an organization, right? But as an individual, as a citizen, what does it make me feel? If I see a child, I mean, I think sometimes we are all tempted to give money, right? Sometimes we are all tempted to
Yeah.
either carry food, but that's very temporary and transient. That is not a systemic
Yeah.
solution. And till we see ourselves, like away and removed from that reality, कि वो हमारी reality नहीं है, तब तक ये बदलाव आएगा नहीं, is what I feel.
Right.
And I think
Right.
if we see ourselves as solutionists, or if we see ourselves as a part of the solution, all of us combined, the young people, us adults sitting here, we also have to see ourselves as a part of that problem until it exhausts us deeply. That why? I mean, like, what can I do? And I think it's what can I do response. We have to keep asking that till and we'll find answers. Agar hum, because we often look at all of us, passing the buck. अरे सरकार नहीं कर रही है, अरे NGOs क्या काम नहीं कर रहे हैं, but कहीं ना कहीं if हम अपनी अगर भागीदारी निभाएं और हम अपनी जिम्मेदारी, sorry, I mean, I'm just switch to Hindi. Uh, so um, so I feel that it's important for each one of us to play our part. And this is a question that we have to keep asking ourselves, not just on panel,
Yes.
but form a collective which is constant. What can we do? How can we support each other who are keen solution seekers? I mean, if there's anything that I can do, probably it's for me, being here is not just about speaking on a panel. Being here is about supporting what young people are doing and how can I be a part, and make time for those. So I think these are incremental, Anupam, I feel that a question that we are all grappling with. But we also sort of should look at what are the things which are changing. Because एक otherness में ये भी होता है कि when we see now, oh, they are poor, we often think that we know what's good for them. We often assume that we know from a point of privilege. But if we begin to talk to them and ask that what do they want, because even NGOs, many NGOs also, okay, we think कि अच्छा सिलाई कढ़ाई का काम लड़कियों को सिखा दो, that will give them beautician का course करा दो. But do we ever stop and ask that do they want to do that, or do they want to have aspirations like we have seen young people, they want to be actors, they want to be singers, they want to be social workers. But are we equipped as organizations, as society, to link them with their aspirations? Right. So I think it has to be a part of our collective consciousness. I know it's not a response to your question, but these are the questions that we all need to ask ourselves also. And I ask myself these questions all the time. कि क्या कर सकते हैं और क्या, as an individual also.
And it starts with I only, anything we want to do, it starts with I. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anupam. Thank you.
Agreed with you, Anupam ma'am and Pragya ma'am. And thank you for that beautiful answer. And now, moving on to the next part of the session. So over to Sachi and Vanshika for leading forward the.
Thank you so much, Pragya ma'am, once again. Our second speaker leads a wonderful culmination of educating the needy and taking care of the environment. This model of education by her organization, Akshar Foundation, has been widely hailed by Niti Aayog, World Economic Forum, Time, BBC, Forbes, Reuters, Al Jazeera, and many more. Her actions are not just a change, but a revolution in how we see educating the deprived. Everybody, let us welcome Parmita Sharma to the E-Stage.
Hi, Sachi. Thank you for having me. I hope I'm audible. I would like to get started with sharing a small video about the work we do.
Parmita ma'am, your video is not shared with sound. So could you reshare it again and turn on the sound?
Sure, definitely. I'm sharing it. I'm playing it again. Yeah.
No. I guess when you share in the Zoom, so when you are clicking on the share screen button, you just have a tab, and on the bottom left corner you will have an option of share sound. So could you?
See. Right.
Yeah. So you can unshare right now, and
yeah, sure. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Let me try that again. That's something to learn every time, right? Just give me 1 second. I think I lost the whole screen.
Otherwise, I can.
Do you have it right screenshot it, that would be very helpful if you can.
Yeah. I'll just give me a minute and I'll note down. Yeah. Give me a minute.
Sorry about that. I see that now. Should I do that?
Okay, yeah, you're good. Go ahead and
Let me try it again. Yeah. Is it him? Nope, I lost the whole screen.
We bring to you a story about a unique school on the outskirts. We bring to you a
Not working, right?
yeah, it's working.
Was it working? Okay.
Yeah.
Just 1 sec.
We bring to you a story about a unique school on the outskirts of Guwahati that is bringing in a paradigm shift in how schools are run. Founded by a young couple with the aim to bring children from poverty-stricken families to schools, the Akshar School in Pamohi has not only reduced dropouts, and it has helped to stop child labor as well. Here, poor students earn while they learn, and believe it or not, the tuition fee in school is only accepting plastic waste. Here's Ratndeep Chaudhary with a special report.
Akshar Forum School is now mandating that students pay for tuition in plastic waste.
थैंक यू जी, ये रखिए। ये क्या है? प्लास्टिक। प्लास्टिक नहीं चलता, रोकड़ा, मनी मनी। अरे लेकिन ये तो चलता है। यहाँ नहीं चलता। यहाँ नहीं चलता? बिल्कुल नहीं। लेकिन आसाम के एक स्कूल में तो चलता है। क्या? हाँ, आप OMG मेरा इंडिया देखते हैं? बिल्कुल। हाँ, तो चलिए आपको दिखाते हैं कि आसाम के एक स्कूल में इस प्लास्टिक के बदले में बच्चों को क्या मिलता है।
That plastic is recycled by our teenager students to make eco bricks from the plastic, and those eco bricks we use for different kinds of construction. Like we have made a planter at our school. We are also building pathways connecting the classrooms, and in future we want to build a toilet with the eco bricks.
I can say and write what I did this morning.
एक और OMG वाली बात ये है कि यहाँ के बड़े बच्चे छोटे बच्चों को पढ़ाते भी हैं।
Assamese maris. Elephant. Good. C for cat dia. Good.
The goal was to create a school that would teach the conventional subjects, math, English, science, but combine that with vocational training so that they learn valuable job skills.
जैसे कारपेंट्री, एम्ब्रॉयडरी, फार्मिंग और गार्डनिंग।
फिक्स करेंगे, आप हेल्प करेंगे practice.
Hello, my name is Leon. I'm from Belgium and I recently completed my studies at Oxford, and I'm currently doing an internship here at Akshar. I've been here for 5 weeks and I must say I'm quite impressed by the Indian educational model. First of all, by its way of assessing students. I think it's totally right about grouping students according to their skills and not their age. I think it allows for faster and more targeted progress. I also think that their model of older students teaching younger students is excellent. I think that it works for both sides of the exchange. The younger students have a role model to which they can look up. It's also a diversified way of approaching education, and the older students have a direct way of learning professionalism, work, and how to earn as well, and learn to transmit knowledge, which I think is a wonderful skill to have. I also appreciate the fact that the Indian educational model uses technology strongly. I think that prepares their students for the ever-evolving world in which we live, and I also think that it stimulates the curiosity of the students. The vocational training that students follow daily as well is quite impressive. I can see how it teaches students not only a concrete skill that they can then put to use if they want to straight after school, but also makes them well-rounded and benevolent citizens of our world. And finally, I think the emphasis that Akshar and the Indian educational model puts on sustainability is crucial for the world we live in now, as this will be one of the greater issues that the generation school care will be facing. And I think here they're not only becoming aware of it and its importance, but also learning about concrete solutions that they can then apply to the problem. So yeah, I had learned and read about this model prior to coming, and I must say that probably the most powerful aspect is seeing it in action, not only seeing how it's put into place every day, but also seeing the concrete impact that it has on the students who have been schooled here sometimes up to 6 years back. They have grown into independent learners and very confident and assertive students, and most of all, they seem happy to be learning here. So I'm really impressed by what I've seen, what I've experienced. So yeah, I'm impressed and honored to have spent some time here learning, and I'm eager to take some of the ideas and concepts seen here back to Europe and hopefully apply them to my next teaching role.
Hi, so we address the problem of failing schools, like Pragya ma'am pointed out before, which keeps the Indians trapped in the cycle of intergenerational poverty. Now, even though the government schools, they have high rates of enrollment, attendance is low, and the learning outcomes are virtually non-existent. The teenage dropout rate is like through the roof. There's like almost 60% students dropping out, and they take up casual labor, they get married young, and then they start this vicious cycle of poverty all over again. The average Indian spends only 5 years in schools, and that is not enough time for any significant skill development. Now, we have a solution that can actually break the cycle of poverty, and here is how. First of all, we use child labor to end child labor. I know that doesn't sound right, but here's the thing, like, Pragya ma'am pointed out, children in poverty, they have to earn money to stay in school. So we employ older students as tutors and social workers. As it turns out, the teenager with a tablet you saw in the video can be a very powerful teacher. In fact, some of our students might be the youngest paid children in teachers in the entire world. Now, at first, we thought that the children buy toys and candies with their earning, but they mostly buy sandals, clothes, staple food, shoes, things that they really need, and that help lower the financial burden on their families. Now, at first, when we started our model school in 2016, most of our older schools, they were dropouts who left primary school to start earning. Somewhere as old as like 12 years old, working in the local stone quarry, breaking rocks all day in the sun, or they would be working in a factory, or they would be cutting down trees, doing something to keep them to earn money. Girls were mostly kept at home, either to do housework or look after their younger siblings, or sometimes traded off to serve more well-off families. And the children who are lucky enough to have parents, their families expect them to be either housekeepers or breadwinners. So we told the parents, send your daughters and sons to our school instead of manual labor, and then they can earn money at school. Now, the student wages, it starts off very low. So some parents complain that the children could earn more money by working outside or working as manual laborers. And that's when we told them that if you send your children to school, they will earn more and more as they learn more. But if you send them to do any work, if you send them to do manual labor, they'll earn the same amount for the rest of their lives. Now, this did convince parents to send their children to our school. And then within 1 year, we had like about 100 students waiting to get enrolled in our school. So our education model focuses on producing exponentially growing quantity of teachers, and we train every student to be a teacher. And we do think that this is a strategy to eradicate widespread poverty and have a sustained community growth and development. And here's another thing: we do not group the kids by their skills, by their age. We group them by their skills. So we can have a 13-year-old kid, for example, coming to the school for the first time, and then we assess the level of that student. Where is the kid in Assamese? Where is the kid in English? Where is the kid in math? And then place them according to their level. So it could be in like level 3 in Assamese, but level 4 in English, level 5 in maths, depending on what their level is. And this way we can ensure that they learn at their own pace. Now, if the kids are learning at their own pace, they are interested. If they are made to sit, like if we put a 13-year-old kid, for example, in class 8, and they don't know basic addition, they cannot keep up with the maths in class 8. So this way we are able to make sure that the students are motivated and interested to learn, and that they continue to come to school where they can also earn some money. And this has really helped us retain like at-risk kids who are happy to stay in school so that they can earn and learn. And it does not only help the older kids, like for the younger kids, for example, meta teaching benefits the younger students very much. This is what we call, by the way, meta teaching, older kids teaching the younger ones and teaching the older ones how to teach. So all these poor children, the younger kids, or for example, any poor children, they don't have any support at home, or they lack the basic support that they need to succeed in school. So if you look at any private schools, for example, they can have like one adult teacher for 10 students or 15 students. But how do we ensure that for poor children? Because we don't have that funding. So this is how we can bridge that gap. We can employ older students to teach younger students. And this way we can ensure that the younger child gets one-on-one attention every day. And we do believe that this one-on-one attention is the key. Now, our goal is not to replace adult teachers. All the students have regular classes with adult teachers like, other schools. But the goal of meta teaching is to replace the role that an educated parent would serve at home in a middle or upper class family. Now, privileged families, they help their kids with their homework, they can give them encouragement, employ tutors to teach them. And this is how we bridge this gap for the poor student, for the poor children, by employing older students. And the older students benefit a lot too. Like, I would like to talk about an example of one of our students who dropped out of primary school, and because he had to start earning money to earn for his family. And he was working before he was 12. His mother left him and his sister when they were very young, and his father was not mentally stable. So he came to us on his own in 2016 and asked to be enrolled in our school. The students in the community where we are working, or where our model school is, they like the fact that we did not shame them for not knowing the alphabets. We did not shame them for not knowing anything, and rather we let them move through the curriculum at their own pace. But this child, when he started teaching, that's when he really transformed. So even though he only teaches for like 1 or 2 hours per day, his wages are based on his progress in school. So the more he learns, the more he earns. So he went from learning like ABCs to 6th grade Cambridge English in like 3 years. And now he's an excellent teacher. And like we had hoped, becoming a better teacher made him a better learner too. So this kid, or for all the kids in our model school for that matter, they all gain leadership skills, communication skills, deep compassion, and confidence. And they also have the respect of the younger children, and they also become happier and more responsible. They earn wages in like a fake currency. We don't give them real money, but we have like this same fake currency, which like is exactly the same like money, but doesn't work in the system. And they can use that to buy whatever they want. They can buy food, clothing, shoes, or sometimes they order online on Amazon. And we also ensure that all our students, they have a bank account. So they fill up like a weekly timesheet where they write down who they taught, how much, for what time period they taught, and then they get wages based on that. And they also learn the concept of saving. So they now know that if they save money, they can buy better things. So at first the students were like, if they got like 5 rupees or 10 rupees or 5 points or 10 points, they would immediately buy a chocolate, buy something. Then they slowly learn that if they save that, then they can buy more things. So now we have some students in Ramu who have bought like mobile phones with their own saved money. And this concept of saving is very important for them because they don't see that at home, and they're mostly living from hand to mouth, right? So they don't even have an option. But even when they do,
Ms. Parmita, your voice is
also able to teach students and plan for the teacher also learn how to become an expert based on the skills and knowledge. For example, a student is in level 5 English, and that kid makes 5 rupees for teaching a younger student. Level 5
Excuse me, Ms. Parmita,
pay
your voice is
increases.
breaking.
7 rupees for teaching the students. So my voice is breaking. Am I audible now?
Yeah. Now you're audible. Your video is just freezed a bit. Yeah. Now it's fine. I guess she left the meeting because of some issues. I'm sure she'll join soon. Yeah, she has joined again. Ms. Parmita, can you hear me now? Hello, Ms. Parmita, can you hear me? I guess not. So, till the time she's back here again, I guess we can start with. Yeah, okay, she's there. Ms. Parmita, can you hear me again?
I am so sorry. I think my internet connection is unstable. Am I audible now?
Yeah, now you're audible.
Okay, perfect. So like I was saying, our students have internalized that if they learn more, they will earn more. So when they go, so if they are in level 5 in English and they're getting 5 rupees to teach a younger child, if they go to level 6, they will get 7 rupees to teach a younger child. So we want them to understand that if they learn more, if they stay in school, if they stay in college, and they will have the potential to earn more and more. And this also incentivizes students to behave like model students, and we also fine them for bad behavior. So if a student is not listening to their teacher, or if they are misbehaving or bullying someone, we deduct their money. And nothing works like taking money from people. It's the same with adults, right? Like we are fined if we violate any rules of the government. It's the same like with the children, and no one wants to lose money. So this ensures that the students are very well behaved. We also focus on vocation. Like this is a very important part. So we make sure that every student is placed directly into a career. And when a student is in class 6 or in level 6, we tell them to choose 2 vocations of their choosing. Now, we have accepted, or it's a fact, that not everyone will be doctors and engineers, right? I mean, not everyone can be. We don't need that many doctors and engineers. But there are many other professions in the community for which there is a high demand. And that is what we are reinforcing in our students. We need them to understand that every vocation is important, and they need to pick some vocations so that they can stand on their own feet by the time they are 18. Because this is just
Your voice is breaking again, Ms. Pamela.
So school, we make students choose their they can choose they are good on vocation, because nowadays we have seen that right? You have graduates who are unemployed. So I'm so sorry. Should I? Is it okay now or still?
Yeah, it's fine now.
Change my internet connection.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, so I guess you're on mute. Yeah.
Is this okay now? Sorry.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, so one more thing, we charge our students plastic school fees. Now, the goal for this is to teach them responsibility. We wanted our students to work on something related to the environment, and when we spoke with them, we found out that they were burning plastic regularly, and in the winter months, they all huddle around the plastic for warmth. So we thought that we need to teach them responsibility with something that affects them, and that is why we started charging them plastic school fees. Now, it's not actually fees, but in order for them to actually bring the plastic to school, we tell them it's fees, otherwise they have to pay money. We also train our students to address the different problems in their communities and develop ways to address the problems. Like, for example, if they don't have clean drinking water, what can they do to overcome that? Maybe they can make like a traditional pot with like sandstone and that process and clean their water. But they're making them aware that, they need to handle the issues in their own communities themselves. And now what we do is not unique. This is the Indian education model. The Indian education model does not view mind and body as separate. It talks about holistic education. If you look at 5,000 years ago, what the rishis were teaching, this is what they were talking about doing academics and abstract academics like language, maths, and skills, but at the same time, hands-on practical learning, experiential learning, skills development, physical conditioning by developing muscle memory. And it all comes down to the simplest form of learning by doing. So we saw that our model works. We have great results in our model school in Pamohi. And the next step for us was to scale up our model, because we knew that, okay, if we can do this, can spread this model, and we can reach out to many more children and help them choose a viable path for themselves. Now, thankfully, the government of India, they introduced national education policy, like we all know, that calls for schools to be upgraded into holistic, high-tech, green centers for learning and vocational skill development, grounded in traditional Indian pedagogy. So they talk about identifying the unique capabilities of each child to promote holistic development. They focus on foundation literacy and numeracy so that no child is left behind. They talk about individual tracking of students, peer learning, no separation between vocation and academic streams. They talk about values like empathy, respect, like Pragya Vats said, like life skills, communication skills, cooperation, use of technology. So all these things we have already been doing for a while. And we were in a good place to take our model forward with the government. So when the new education policy was introduced, we approached the government of Assam. Now we have an MOU model, or rather new education policy, or the Indian education model in 100 government schools. So currently we are working in 15 government schools where we support the teachers to do the model. We provide them training. We help them to use tablets, use digital classroom for learning. We teach them how to group the students by their skills and not by their age. We teach them, or we train them how to do vocational training with the students. And slowly we are seeing that the teachers are learning, and we are hopeful that in the 2 or 3 years where we work with the schools closely, the schools will become sustainable communities for the future. Currently, we are working in 15 government schools, and our goal is to reach 100 government schools in 3 years. In future, our final goal is to spread the Indian education model throughout the world. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Parmita ma'am. Yeah, now you're audible. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Parmita ma'am, for your valuable insights. Your perspectives have provided us with new insights that we plan to apply in our own work. Your dedication towards students is very inspiring and greatly contributes to the field of education. Now, the 1-minute Q&A is starting. Please ask your questions by raising your hands or message your questions in chat box.
I guess there was one person who wanted to ask a question. He said it on the chat box. So this was by Krish Singh, and he said, as a student, what can we do to change the Indian education system and help in implementation of NEP 2020? So I guess you have talked about NEP 2020 on a school level, but he wants to know about how we can go about it at an individual level as a student.
So you all are in a great position to actually take this model forward, because if you look at all this, if you just pair up like one elite school is paired up with like one government school, wonders for the children in that school. They need exposure to technology, to the facilities that you have, and you can carry this forward. Like currently, we are signing MOU with Search Bharat Mission, and we started approaching schools to give us their plastic. Because we cannot solve the problem by just addressing the issues in the government schools. We have to address that at the national level. That is where you children or you students come in, because we can't do this. We can't do this alone. How many of us are there, right? We need you people to take everything forward. And what we are kind of hoping, or what we always had a vision for the students of our government schools, is that we could pair them up with children from privileged backgrounds so that they can get the same exposure that you want, and that would open up a lot of doors and possibilities for them. So if you can even take out your time and go to a nearby school and maybe teach a student how to use it, whether they use technology or use ChatGPT, for example, that will go a long way in their career. So if people like you come forward and take an interest in the learnings of the students, learnings of the children in the government schools, I think that will really change our country. And India is in a position, or we are hopeful that India can be a superpower, and it is up to people like you to make it a superpower. And we can do that by educating the 1 billion children that we have, because we have the workforce. Now China is, they have a dwindling workforce. Like the attention is shifting to India, and now it is our time. It is your time to actually bring a change to the world, take our country forward.
Very well said, Parmita ma'am, and I think I must agree on with you on that because India has a lot of potential when it comes to the young workforce, and I guess we are the largest country. We have the largest youth population in the world, and
Exactly.
we just need to utilize the potential through education, and ultimately our path towards becoming a superpower lies in our own hands, in the hands of youth. So I guess there is one more hand raised, and by the name of Shika, and I'll allow her to ask a question.
Yeah, hi. Am I audible? Hello?
Yeah, you're audible. Yeah.
Yeah, audible.
Yeah. Good evening, Parmita ma'am. I really appreciate your exemplary work that you're doing in the field of education and, of course, in uplifting the students also. So my question is, as I understand that you are in Assam with this model. So are you planning to bring this model in the other states of the country? Or if somebody else would like to, adopt this model in other part of the country, so would you be able to help?
We are happy to do both. We are also looking to work in other states. We are already in talks with the Madhya Pradesh government to implement our model there. And we would also love for people to come forward. And we have, like, we are developing technology, right? Like, we have an app, Learn to Read app, which you can access offline. And everything is open source. Everything that we own is open source. Everything that we are making or developing is open source. We also have, we are building our software on Colibri. It's an open source software. And there we have a system to track students individually to having different kinds of options on tablets or on digital medium, and everything is open source. So if anyone is interested, we are more than happy to guide them and to share our resources and help take forward this mission.
Great, thank you, ma'am.
Wonderful. Thank you for answering the question, Ms. Parmita, and thank you for the questions, Ms. Shika. And now I guess we can move forward. Vanshika and Sachi.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am, for such an inspiring answer. Our next speaker is a young and a loud change maker. She carves the path from poverty to empowerment through ties, an initiative by her alma mater that focuses on educating the underserved. She is also a co-founder of Our Space, a peer educators group, and serves as a youth advisor at Sangat and is a mind speaker at Fortis. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to listen to Navvya Rahate. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction and thank you so much for having me. So, good evening, everyone. Today, I stand before you to share a journey that embodies the transformation from poverty to empowerment. A journey fueled by the undying spirit of education and the unwavering commitment to make a difference. The story I am about to tell you is one of resilience, compassion, and the power of collective effort. It is the story of TIES, which is the Indrapuram Evening School, an initiative that started way back in 2015 and has since become a beacon of hope for underprivileged children. TIES was born out of a profound desire to bridge the educational gap that exists due to socioeconomic disparities. The passionate endeavor was initiated by the Indrapuram group of institutions, particularly Indrapuram Public School Indrapuram, with the noble intention of providing quality education to those who, due to circumstances beyond their control, lack the means to access it. The inception of this initiative required extensive campaigning by the alumni of the institution, sensitizing parents and children alike about the transformative power of education. With persistence and dedication, TIES managed to gather around 40 eager young minds ready to embark on a journey towards knowledge and empowerment. The initial curriculum encompassed not only academic subjects like arithmetic, basic science, and geography, but also essential life skills like hygiene and moral science. However, TIES did not stop at mere instruction. Recognizing the importance of holistic development, the initiative incorporated dance, music, art, and sports into its offerings, ensuring that these children had the opportunity to explore their passions and talents. Every weekday from 4 to 5 p.m., the halls of ties echoed with the voices of these eager learners, absorbing knowledge, nurturing dreams, and cultivating skills that would shape their futures. Yet, just as ties was making strides in transforming lives, the unforeseen upheaval of the COVID-19 pandemic struck, forcing the initiative to temporarily shutter its doors. The pandemic brought challenges and uncertainties that impacted all aspects of our lives, and ties was no exception. However, the spirit of ties endured, and the desire to empower these children remained unshaken. Personally, I had long harbored a fervent desire to contribute to ties, to be a part of the journey from poverty to empowerment. However, life's demands often held me back from fulfilling this aspiration. I recall a moment from my childhood when I expressed my wish to educate underprivileged children and transform their lives. That dream, though delayed, never faded. In July 2023, ties emerged from its temporary hiatus like a phoenix rising from the ashes. As an alumni, I received a text that rekindled the flames of my long-held aspiration. Ties is restarting. Are you ready? With college looming on the horizon, I knew my time was limited, but the opportunity to make a meaningful impact was too precious to ignore. The words of Martin Luther King Jr. echoed in my mind. Somewhere along the way, we must learn that there is nothing greater than to do something for others. Empowered by a shared sense of purpose, a team of 7 new IPSI alumni, accompanied by the dedicated ties mentor Ms. Neha Sharma and the constant support by the school management, we embarked on a campaign to reignite the flame of education in the nearby slums. To our surprise, the response was overwhelmingly positive. The parents, having witnessed the positive influence of ties in the past, readily embraced the mission. Their willingness to entrust us with the education of their children spoke volumes about the enduring legacy. The reopening of ties marked the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter defined by resilience, dedication, and the unbreakable bond of a community united by a shared vision. With more than 30 children on its inaugural day, ties witnessed a steady increase in enrollments week after week, fostering a close-knit family of over 45 eager learners. From mastering the intricacies of the English alphabet to conquering mathematical operations like addition, subtraction, and multiplication, these children embraced education with fervor. The journey from poverty to empowerment is one paved with challenges, yet it is also a journey illuminated by hope, determination, and the transformative power of education. The story of ties is a testament to the fact that even in the face of adversity, a dedicated group of individuals can create a lasting impact on the lives of those less fortunate. As we continue to march forward, let us remember that every step we take, every lesson we impart, and every smile we ignite is a step closer to a future where empowerment triumphs over poverty. Our journey began with a vision to bridge the gap between poverty and empowerment, to uplift the lives of the underprivileged children who were denied the basic right to education. As we embarked on this noble quest, we were confronted with challenges that seemed insurmountable. The sheer number of children we aimed to reach was overwhelming, but we understood that challenges are the stepping stones to meaningful change. Our first step was to assess the educational levels of these young learners. We engaged them in conversations, asking questions that not only gauged their knowledge, but also their aspirations. This assessment guided us to categorize the children into 3 levels of increasing difficulty. I took on the responsibility of guiding the highest level, where children transition from learning alphabets to crafting coherent sentences, mastering spellings, and even delving into mathematical operations. Yet, challenges extended beyond academic progress. The transition from their previous circumstances to a formal learning environment was a considerable adjustment. The children's exuberance and curiosity were palpable, but managing their energy and directing it towards learning required a new approach. We turned our classes into interactive spaces, engaging them in activities that not only educated but also instilled discipline and respect. In the early days, we recognized the importance of instilling manners and etiquettes. The second week of our program was dedicated to teaching the children fundamental manners, words like sorry, excuse me, and thank you, along with the significance of seeking permission and showing respect. These principles laid the foundation for an environment of mutual respect and cooperation. The younger children, brimming with energy and spontaneity, presented a unique challenge. Patience became our guiding virtue as we worked to channel their enthusiasm into productive learning experiences. Experimentation was key, leading us to discover diverse teaching styles tailored to the needs of each age group. Playful tones and interactive activities resonated with the younger ones, while positive reinforcement struck a chord with the older children. A breakthrough moment arrived when we introduced a reward system, a toffee for displaying good learning and behavior, and a chocolate for the high scorer in weekly tests. Skepticism lingered about the effectiveness of such incentives, particularly with children of such a young age. Yet the outcomes astonished us as we witnessed a surge in high scorers and an unparalleled motivation to learn. The children's hunger for knowledge seemed insatiable. They yearned for more challenges, eager to unlock the treasure trove of education. However, amidst our triumphs, a pressing challenge emerged: retention. While most children remained steadfast in their commitment, external factors like financial constraints, domestic responsibilities, and societal pressures disrupted the educational journey of a few. The burden of work and household chores, festivals, and familial obligations forced some to temporarily step back. This reality underscores the complex interplay between poverty and education, revealing the need for comprehensive societal change. The road to empowerment is often marred by countless challenges. Yet it is these very challenges that define the essence of our work. In a world where inequality is rife and the access to quality education remains a distant dream for many, we embarked on this mission to shatter these barriers and create a pathway for a brighter future. We encountered skepticism, financial constraints, and logistical hurdles, but the fire of our determination burned brighter. We refused to let these obstacles deter us, for we knew the transformation of these young lives was worth every trial. The impact of our efforts has been nothing short of remarkable. I vividly recall the story of Rahul, a young student at TIES, who not only excelled academically, but also earned a well-deserved admission to our school sponsored by our management. His journey illustrates the tangible impact that dedicated effort could have in breaking the cycle of poverty through education. These children, who once struggled to write their own names, now confidently introduce themselves in English, a language that was once an enigma to them. The provision of basic resources such as notebooks and pencils has not only facilitated their learning, but has also ignited a spark of motivation within them. Witnessing the metamorphosis of these children from aimless wanderers to confident individuals equipped with essential skills is a testament to the profound impact of the work. Many have seamlessly transitioned into local government schools. Their families awaken to the immense value of education. The classroom success stories are awe-inspiring, with several children consistently topping their classes and one of our students even securing the second position in her grade. Their excitement, their zest for learning is palpable as they eagerly look forward to each day at TIES. A poignant incident remains etched in my memory. On a day when the rain was relentless and we contemplated cancelling our class, we received a call from the school's guard. He informed us that the children were waiting eagerly at the gate, undeterred by the inclement weather. This moment encapsulated the profound significance these children attributed to TIES, reinforcing our belief in the power of empowerment. Such instances serve as a constant reminder that the work is not just about education. It is about instilling hope, igniting dreams, and nurturing self-belief. The impact of TIES has transcended its physical boundaries. As I share the revival of our initiative, our alumni reached out, eager to contribute and perpetuate the cycle of empowerment. This outpouring of support echoes the lasting impact of our efforts, demonstrating that empowerment is a torch passed from one generation to another. Achieving the transformation from poverty to empowerment is a multifaceted journey that requires a comprehensive approach. Education, economic empowerment, social inclusion, health, and community collaboration are the pillars upon which this journey is built. It requires not only resources but also dedication, empathy, and a vision for a better world. As we embark on this journey, let us remember that empowerment is not a destination. It is a continuous process of growth, learning, and evolution. It is our belief that education is the gateway to empowerment. Our efforts, though significant, cannot single handedly dismantle the intricate web of poverty's grasp. As we persist in our mission to illuminate young minds, we call upon the collective strength of society to amplify the impact. The journey from poverty to empowerment is a transformative odyssey that requires unwavering commitment, resilience, and a steadfast belief in the potential of every child. Through ties, we have witnessed lives being transformed, dreams taking flight, and futures being rewritten. Our work is a testament to the fact that empowerment is not merely a destination but a continuous evolving process that empowers not only the individuals but also the collective consciousness of a community. As we march forward on this path, let us remember that every step we take, every life we touch, contributes to a world where poverty is no longer a barrier but a stepping stone to a brighter tomorrow. Together, we have the power to transform lives, uplift communities, and create a world where poverty is not a life sentence but a stepping stone towards a future filled with opportunities and possibilities. It is time that we commit ourselves to this noble endeavor and work hand in hand to turn the dream of poverty to empowerment into a living reality. And I truly commend We Rise Together's efforts to encourage and, most importantly, involve the youth in dealing with issues that collectively impact the society as a whole. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Navvya, for that enlightening talk and for sharing your valuable expertise. The 1 minute Q&A is starting now. Please ask your questions by raising your hands or message your questions in chat box.
Anybody who wants to ask a question to Navvya can raise their hands and I'll be unmuting them, giving them the necessary controls for everyone.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. You can go ahead.
I want to ask, Navvya, you are a mental health advocate. What do you think are the impacts of poverty on mental health of people?
I think that poverty has a significant impact on the mental health of individuals. Like, you see, poverty is automatically associated with the status, and a status is one of the most important thing an individual has, right? So it is a part of their identity. So when people, especially who come from poverty, are, they face the consequences of being in a world, of stepping into the real world, they often face backlash, and that is something that significantly impacts their identity as a whole. So that makes them question themselves, and that ultimately leads to this to a significant impact on their self-esteem. So poverty, as we see it, is a very comprehensive approach. If we take poverty, has a significant impact on the mental health of each and every individual, but it is also important that people realize that poverty is not something that is a part of their identity, but it is but basically poverty is basically a state from which they can overcome, a state that they can leave behind and create the identity that they want on their own.
Okay, that was a really nice answer, Navvya, and I must completely agree with you because when it comes to status, it is something that we usually associate with our identity too. and it really creates a psychological dilemma, I guess, too, in the minds of the people stricken with poverty, uh, because they also have to rise through above their status, and but they do not have the resources to do so. So that is a situation of dilemma, and I mean that is why I was reading this report earlier that effects of poverty is corresponding to losing 13 points on IQ. So that is something we need to take care of when we are dealing with mental health effects of poverty. Now, I guess we could move on with the event, Sachi and Vanshika.
Yeah. Once again, thank you, Ms. Navvya. Now it's time for a special guest speaker. He is the guru to change makers who have flourished with flying colors in his school. His noteworthy contributions towards uplifting the level of education and being recognized as a mentor of change are enough to explain the extent of his impact on the lives of youth. Let us welcome Dr. Ashish Mittal, Vice Principal of Indrapuram Public School, who would be sharing about how poverty is not just a poor people's problem. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Vanshika. And I must congratulate Veera's Foundation for this initiative, because when I was reading about this initiative that is covering basically three main topics, that is environment, menstrual hygiene, and poverty. And I've been fortunate enough to speak on the topic that is poverty, because that is one of the topics what we have been talking about in sustainable development goals as well, and people have been talking about the poverty. Because we are bound to relate this word poverty with the poor people usually, but we have to first understand that poverty is not actually just limited to the poor people or the people who are not having sufficient money or something like that. Like if I talk about the infrastructure, good infrastructure, resources and things like that. So it is not the only cause when we say that the poverty can be actually restricted or we can always achieve the goal. This particularly, if I talk about the poverty, for me, poverty is a very vast region and wide region that needs to be understood by everybody. Because for me, the first question that gets arise is how to achieve this goal. Because we have been talking about the awareness program, and if we are already working on the awareness tool, but the question always arises that how we can achieve this goal. What are the ways ahead? What are the roads ahead? Because we always see that if there is no, because we should understand there's no single process or some sort of shortcuts to achieve this goal or to eradicate the poverty, because sometimes we feel that it is not possible to achieve this goal by 2030, specifically by that is being designed by United Nations under SDGs. But I must say that if we talk about certain qualities, that is, if I usually address first quality, that is the equity. If I talk about the addressing poverty through equity, if I would like to start with equity, because we need to understand the equality and equity, there's a slight difference between the equity and equality. But if I talk about equality or inequality, inequality is one of the leading causes of poverty that we need to understand, because systematic barriers that prevent certain groups from having representation on their communities leave them further behind, right, in terms of resources and opportunities to alleviate poverty in a community or country. All groups and identities must be involved in creating solutions. It is important to note that inequality and equality are two important factors that we have to understand, because equality means for me that every person must have an equal chance of achieving their goals, not just equal resources. This may mean providing additional resources to those who are further behind to ensure that they have all they need to succeed. So that is important to understand if we are talking about just the equality and equity. And if we are talking about the equality, it does not just mean about the caste, just the religion. Because there are multiple factors. What we have been talking about is it is maybe gender, it is maybe age, it is maybe caste. So there are multiple topics what we have been talking about, the inequality as well. So poverty, inequality, these are related topics that are needed to be understood by each and everybody, because poverty is not the only thing which can be eradicated or washed out or completely done away with. Like if I talk about the second aspect, for me it is resilience, because poverty is directly related to the inequality when it meets the high level of the risk. If I talk about the risk is related to many aspects, whether it is hazards and all. If I talk about the inequality, what I have already talked about, there are multiple factors, whether it is caste, religion, age, gender. So inequality is there in multiple terms, and when it meets to the risk, so that becomes a major root cause for the poverty. So that is to be understood by us, that resilience is really important to reduce poverty. And if we really want to reduce that risk, definitely we have to reduce the kind of mindset that we are having for the inequality, or we should think of about the equality more about it, whether it is different terms what I've already quoted here. Another task or another key point what I will be talking about, because when we talk about the right to education, but we don't usually talk about the right to quality education, right? You might be thinking why sir is talking about the right to quality education or right to education in terms of the poverty. Why? That is a question. But you need to understand that actually educating somebody, could you please give me a minute? I think there is a, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, we could hear you perfectly.
Okay, fine, thank you. So if I talk about the education, quality education, according to UNESCO, you must have already read up something about the quality education, what is really required throughout the world, not just in terms of the country that is India. If all students in low income countries had basic reading and writing skills, an estimated approximately 171 million people could escape extreme poverty. Complete secondary education could reduce the global poverty rate by more than half, I feel. And that is already mentioned and cited by UNESCO as well. Education actually develops skill and abilities, corrects imbalances, right?
Yes.
It's a mistake.
Is everything fine, Mr. Ashish, with your connection? Hello, Mr. Ashish, can you hear us? Okay, I guess yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can
I
hear
have
you.
reconnected. Actually, it was showing me that there's a poor connection, so I was a bit apprehensive whether you can hear me or not.
Okay, no. We were hearing you
Okay,
perfectly.
fine. Thank you. So I was talking about Arav. I was talking about the quality education, because providing quality education to everybody, every child of the world, I think it will be a great help to reduce the poverty, or I would definitely say that it will eradicate the poverty as well, right? Improving access to education, because I feel if you read about the NEP clearly suggests that accessibility is not the only aspect, equity is the only aspect, because accessibility has always been giving the accessibility to every child, and that is why there are multiple schools which are opened by the state government throughout the country. If I talk about India, so accessibility was always given, but have we all ever talked about, or have we ever thought about other aspect, that is equity? And that is why I have been talking about equity. Why equity? Because when there is an accessibility for the education for the children, and number two is the equal rights or equal kind of infrastructure, equal kind of resources that are being given to the student. Because accessibility does not mean that the child is given one school to study, but are we providing the proper infrastructure or not? Are we providing the proper resources or not? So that is really important for the equity as well. So these points actually trigger me always that we are just talking about poverty, but we are usually not talking about how to increase this volume of providing the quality education to the children. So this is a very important point for me to support, to advocate that how we can eradicate or reduce or wash out or completely uh, finish this concept of poverty throughout the world. So for me it is really important. And second point, and the next point for me, if we talk about the hunger and thirst, because we and I must congratulate this VRISE Foundation, because I have always been watching your work, because you guys are working for the climate change, you guys are working for the donating this thing and that thing. So this is quite important to understand, because poverty is actually a money related thing as well. But if we are working on the part of the hunger and the thirst of the people, so I think that will always help the people to understand what are they requiring actually, because poor people actually don't understand what is meant by the calories, what is meant by the nutrients or nutritious food. But we guys can understand, because we are fortunate enough to have such kind of food with us. But poor people actually do not know what is nutrient, what is vitamin, what is calcium and all, because for them the food is a major concern. So thirst and hunger is a basic problem for specifically few countries, and unfortunately India is one of that particular list that is also suffering from that. So simply eating 3 meals a day and getting enough calories and nutrients can break the cycle of poverty. So that is quite important, and that we have to understand, because we are fortunate enough, or we are more fortunate than those guys who are not having this particular 3 meals a day. So what I feel, when a person does not have enough food, they lack the strength and energy needed to work, because there are multiple things, not just food. If I talk about the contaminated water as well, so that can also lead to the debilitating illnesses, because they don't understand what is kind of a contaminated water. They simply talk about that water is sufficient for me. They don't understand the water is RO water. They don't understand the water is a groundwater, or water is coming from which particular resource. So these things are really important. And so what I feel, that ending hunger and thirst is a very basic aspect for this, because improving access to clean water can benefit those living in especially rural areas, because water is a issue just for not only just for men, it is an issue for women as well. And I think you guys have been talking about menstrual hygiene. So menstrual hygiene is actually being impacted sometimes with the kind of water they are actually using or drinking. I don't know whether you agree with me or not, but water is a basic issue for menstrual hygiene also. That doesn't mean that menstrual hygiene is directly related to what kind of water and food we are having, but it impacts that particular hygiene definitely. What is, as per my understanding, I'm just sharing with you. If I talk about the next part, that is a bit different part, and not a very basic or not a very macro part, or not a very major part. But if I talk about the world, peace is also one of the important aspect that can alleviate poverty, because we have been seeing the wars between two countries, and that is for sure, when two countries are there in wars, the entire world gets impacted. We can never say that Russia and Ukraine are only two countries which are being impacted. I think every country is being impacted through this particular war. So this is also one of the concerns when I say that while ending all wars is ambitious, it would free up budgets allocated to cover the cost of conflict and allow for public services to be delivered. We have been talking about that this particular budget should be gone to that particular like defense and all. It would also reduce risk of vulnerable communities and ensure that goals toward equality and inclusion can be maintained. Because if I talk about the Syrian crisis, it is an example of how war can increase poverty rates. If you remember, if you go through the facts, in 2007, Syria's poverty rate was approximately 10 or 12%, if I'm not wrong. but it increased to 83% in 2019 just because of the Syrian crisis. So that particular percent from 12% to 89%, you can imagine, or 83% somewhere it was. So you can imagine the kind of increment from 10 or 12% to 83 or 80% approximately. So where are we going? So that particular incident tells us that particular wars or something like that actually impacts the entire world, specifically starting from the country, but yes, it goes to the world. So these are particular important points what I was wanting to convey here, because there are multiple topics on which you guys are very nicely working, and I must congratulate this team or this brigade of young leaders or young learners, or I would say the future leaders, because you guys are working so hard, so well, and so in a right direction, whether it is a climate, if I talk about green environment, if I talk about ending poverty, if I talk about donating this thing and that thing. So I think you guys are actually covering almost all areas to the best of your capabilities, which will actually help us to achieve the goals, sustainable development goals by 2030. So these guys are really important and really required by our United Nations specifically. So I think I must congratulate on behalf of the community of teaching and education. So I think you guys are doing fantastic work. So this is all from my side on poverty. So if there is any question, I would be so happy to answer.
Sure, sir. Thank you for that amazing speech and for that wonderful perspective on poverty. I mean, we could really see the point you gave about resilience, our mindset change, and how factors like water, thirst are key for the survival of the poor people and for the upliftment of the poor people is something to be taken care of. Now, I guess over to Sachi and Vanshika for carrying forward with the event.
What an exceptional message, sir. And thank you so much for enlightening us with your valuable insight. And I totally agree that resilience and changing our mindset are very important factors. So, moving forward, today, we have heard a lot of stories, a lot about challenges our dear speakers have faced, and the huge impact they have made in their field. But the event would have left incomplete without knowing their perspective and diverse views on poverty and its future. So, to begin with the panel discussion, I would like to invite Arav and Anupam ma'am.
Sure. So thank you, Sachi, and thank you, Vanshika, and to all the speakers and attendees present here for joining our event today. And the reason why we wanted to conduct this panel discussion because we were looking forward to not only hearing the stories of these change makers who are doing wonderful work and inspiring work in their own fields, to their own actions, but we also wanted to know about their perspective, because a perspective is a valuable viewpoint of, I would say, these experts who would help us to clarify our stance on poverty, our paradigm of poverty. So that is what we are trying to achieve through this panel discussion today. We'll just have two questions, and Ms. Pragya had to leave because of some urgencies. So I will be starting with the first question for Ms. Parmita. And so, Ms. Parmita, we have seen your organization. It has a very unique model of providing education to the needy, to the deprived people, while enhancing the skills or and the skills of the children, as well as also enhancing the condition of the environment. So I'm sure that you will agree with that a child learns most from their home and their parents, even than they learn more than they learn from school during the initial years of their life. So according to you, like how important is it to educate even the parents in a poverty-stricken family so that we can ensure a better future and safety for their children?
It is definitely very, very important. Like you pointed out, the child learns first at home. But unfortunately, the condition or their social situation of these parents does not allow them to actually learn. For example, in Pamuhi, in our model school, we started an adult literacy class where we encouraged the mothers to come and learn because we thought that that would help the children. But they could not sustain that because they have to work to earn money and they have difficult work hours, and it was just not possible for them. And here's what we are doing actually. If you look at our children, for example, we are not expecting our children to be doctors and engineers. But when they become parents, they will be able to provide that initial support to their children and they can be doctors and engineers. So you cannot solve the problem of poverty in one generation. It is it has to be solved over generations. And this is what we are actually hoping for, that when our students, when these children who are learning so well how to teach younger children, they become parents, they would be excellent parents. And hopefully they would be able to provide the support that middle class families get, middle class children get, and hopefully they can take their children forward.
That is an amazing answer, Ms. Parmita, and I completely agree that poverty cannot be just solved in just one generation. We cannot expect something, an issue like poverty, which has existed since millennia, since the starting of the human civilization, to just be finished in just a generation. So, the way we educate, uh, we have better parents who can take care of the children and can provide a safe environment to them, is by educating the children of today who will become the parents of tomorrow. So I guess
Absolutely. Agree, Aram. And Parmita, congratulations for your initiatives. And I must say, the model that you are trying to implement in Guwahati, I just can't wait to see the same model implemented in the other parts of the country, and doing, empowering children and empowering everybody together. Yeah, that's really, really wonderful. Thank you so much. And my question next goes to Navvya, and I must say that it's such a great moment because Navvya had been my student. I taught her, and Navvya asking question in the classroom, now answering your questions, and now me asking you questions, right? So again, we are here on this platform. So I have few questions. Seeing your work, you working with ties, I have seen her working, like myself, I went there when they teach the Thai students, right? And they are so passionate. All the young students who are working over there, they are so passionate about it. So Navvya, I just want to understand from you, your perspective rather, that what policy changes, because whatever we do about poverty, it has something to do at the government level. There has to be a policy to bring up the changes in the community, at the society at large, right? So what policy changes at local, national or international level you would suggest that could significantly impact the poverty reduction? What's your take?
Thank you so much for the question, ma'am. So I believe that while the journey towards poverty reduction is complex, it is not insurmountable. So a few of the local changes that we could make, the local policy changes could be, more investment in education and skills training. So like currently, we spend only a little more than 4% of our country's GDP into education, while it is recommended that we spend at least 6% of our GDP on education. So it is important that we bridge that gap between 4 to 6% in order to ensure that the country's human capital is actually ready to, face the world, to take our economy to greater heights. And I believe that every school should be encouraged to take up the responsibility of educating the underprivileged in their locality, which needs to be aided by the local governments. Right. So we see that there is a lot of skill training in a country going on. The Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana has been a commendable program, but maybe there needs to be more centers at the local level that are actually, more accessible to the people in their surroundings. Another thing that we could bring to the policy is community service requirements, right? Because I believe that until students get the experience of being actually engaged in social work, they wouldn't be motivated to, contribute to society in particular. As I talk about myself, we also often used to get exhausted, going to the school every day, teaching children. There were times when things became overwhelming for us. But seeing those children come every day ready to learn, it was something that ignited motivation and drove us to, be there for them. So I believe that that is something, having community service requirements uh, can really help involve more youth in the community service area. So you see, the new Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita bill includes community service requirements for petty crimes. So I think that is a great step towards involving the youth in dealing with societal issues. And another thing that is important is to address gender inequality openly. So maybe schools could have core foundation courses to introduce gender equality and to address it as a whole, because until and unless we address a topic, it will never normalize itself. It will never uh, unless and until we address something, we cannot expect changes in that topic. So it is really important that students at the elementary level know about the issues that surround them, and it is important that we as a community, as youth, feel motivated to address these issues and also feel motivated to do something on our part. Thank you.
Absolutely agree, Navvya, with you. I think nowadays, being a sustainability, like sustainable development goals, now schools are including these sustainable development goals into their curriculums. But that is happening in the urban areas, right? But I think these has to be, government has to initiate some policies that it should be included in the curriculum all over India, all across the globe. They should be it a government school, be it a government aided school, or be it any other school across the countries. There has to be embedding these sustainable development goals, so that the children have an understanding of how they have responsibility towards the nation. They have responsibility towards their community. So this has to be introduced. I agree with you completely. Thank you, Navvya. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you, ma'am.
yeah, thanks you, Navya, and thank you, ma'am, for the question and the answer. And I'm sure that by addressing these issues and these policy changes on the government level for poverty could actually bring a change for the better. And thanking, I would like to thank both the speakers for giving us such wonderful answers. And now over to Sanchi and Vanshika for the next part of the event.
Wow, what an informative and engaging panel discussion. I'm sure you all are as delighted to hear such viewpoints as we are. Now, it is time for the Q&A session. Please type your questions in the chat box or raise your hand so that we can invite you to ask the questions.
So if anybody has a question, they could definitely raise their hand and I'll call them up for asking the question. I'll give them the permission. Yes, something. Yeah. Okay, so just a minute. Okay, so nobody seems to raise their hand. I guess we have already cleared all the doubts and questions through our previous questions and their wonderful answers to them. So I guess I would have a question for both of you, both the speakers, that like we could see that poverty can actually be cyclical. It could actually pass down from generations to generations, and it could be a vicious cycle. And we have already seen it passing down through millennia, since the age of the empires to the age of industrial revolution, and even today it somehow exists in a cyclical manner. So, according to Ms. Parmita, I would like to go with you first. How can we break this cycle and ensure that their children have better opportunities than their parents did once time. Yeah.
I would again say the same thing that I did before, that if you all can actually, partner with one government school and help the children in that school, that will go a long way because they need the support. They don't have the support from their families there. So, and this is what we were actually hoping to bridge the gap, because we have like Oxford University students coming to our model school to do an internship, and we are hoping that we can bridge the gap by letting our students build a relationship with them, and then they can provide opportunities to our children. Like, for example, we have many talented students in Pamohi in our modern school. So you guys can provide them the opportunity. You guys can provide them the venture capital that they might need to do a business, maybe work together. And this is what they need. They need opportunities. They have the talent. But if you can, young people like you take it upon on you to help them, then they can definitely go a long way.
Agreed. Completely agree that we need to break the cycle of poverty by ourselves engaging into the government schools, as you said, and actually providing them with the quality education that is necessary to bring them out of the vicious cycle and actually start a virtuous cycle further.
Exactly.
Okay. Yes. So, Navvya, what do you think about it? What would be your way to go about it if we are to break us the cycle of poverty?
So I think that, the cycle of poverty emerges when, because these people, these children do not have a dream. They are adjusted to the kind of life that the parents are living. So the parents pass what they are doing to their children. For example, if one family is indulged in a certain work, like maybe they are a mechanic, so they pass down that same profession to their children, and the children do not have actually the courage to dream. So what is important is having that courage to dream, the courage to go beyond what is already passed down to them. So I also agree with Parmita that it is really important that we provide these children with a platform where they can dream bravely, where they can courageously dream. And such a platform, even when even if we are not able to provide resources to them, just having the hope that maybe yes, that dream I have is actually achievable, maybe a little something like that could really make a significant impact on that person. So even if right now we're not able to provide them the resources, maybe they will forge their own path in some way. But what needs to be there is that hope inside them. So I think that's all. Thank you.
I completely agree with you on that. I mean, hope, as we have already introduced in the event, is the most powerful force that binds us together. And it has been a force that has led humanity from walking as cavemen to walking as a modern man, or the modern men and women. So, and also your point that the courage to dream is important, and it could only be possible when we provide the platform to the needy people. And I guess this reminds me of a quote by George Orwell. He said that the essence of poverty is that it annihilates the future. And it's just such a beautiful quote because we see when any person is placed into the context of poverty or in the circumstances of poverty, from a privileged viewpoint, we often think that something is wrong with the poor people, that they have some sort of a character defect going on with them, that they are unable to make these wise decisions like we are. So it is poverty we think is their fault, and then we when go on debating that whether we should help them make good decisions or not, or bad decision, or we should not help them at all. But I guess the main thing we prevent ourselves from looking at is that the problem does not lie in the people, but it lies in the context. If we put any person in the context of poverty, they develop. Research has shown that they develop some sort of a scarcity mindset, which goes on affecting their viewpoint about the future, because they are just so concerned with the needs of present that they just cannot adjust with their vision to the long term and think about the needs of the tomorrow. And that is what I think pretty much sums up the debate on poverty and what where really we should target while helping the poor people out and uplifting poverty, because it is not just a poor people's problem, as we said, it is a studies problem. So over to Vanshika and Sachi for leading forward.
Thank you, Anand. Your engagement and enthusiasm are truly appreciated. It was an unforgettable experience to learn, grow, and become a part of change with you all. We hope that hope has inspired you to take action and help you drive others from poverty to empowerment.
Before we conclude, we would like to invite you all to donate to We Rise Together Foundation, supporting a Helping Hands initiative and empowering more marginalized communities. The details are sent in the chat as well.
Additionally, we encourage you to volunteer and actively participate in our initiatives. Together, we can create a world where every individual has a chance to rise and thrive. Follow our social media handles and be updated about the drives and roles.
Thank you everyone for being the part of this one-of-a-kind event. Your dedication to empowering communities gives us hope and strengthens our collective efforts. Remember, we rise together.
Thank you to all the speakers, panelists, moderators who made our hope a resounding success and a morale booster for change. Let's all make this a lasting impact and create the hope for a better future. Thank you.